We're recording for all of our wonderful students who, because of really good reasons, couldn't be here this morning. All right, our presenters, our presenters are the miraculous and talented, and they'll introduce themselves. Craig Kapp and Joe Cassick. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Yes. Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will go ahead and get started. All right. How is that? Is that visible for everybody? Excellent. Great. So now that I have two monitors going on, so I just need to make sure that my interface is all set up and ready to go. Great. All right, Zoom problems. So welcome to our session this morning. Hopefully, thank you for all showing up at 8 a.m. That is a feat on 4th of July. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat to talk. We're a very small group, so just have at it. So today what we're going to talk about are some tech tools for teaching, learning, and wowing your students. These are going to be, it'll be a fast-paced discussion of about 30 different tools that I have found to be useful and Joe has found to be useful, that hopefully you can integrate into your practice and make a little difference with your students. So our agenda for today, we're going to do some brief introductions. We're going to talk a little bit about motivation and the use of technology in the classroom. And then we're going to do about 30 tools in 90 minutes, rapid fire mode. That'll focus on a wide range of topics that you could use today, such as video, assessments, manipulatives, brainstorming, and even some crazy stuff like augmented reality and artificial intelligence. So we're going to kind of span the gamut of things that you could do in the classroom. So to get started, my name's Craig. I'm a full-time faculty member at NYU, although I used to work at TCNJ for many years. I was the associate director for instructional technology. And I also teach in the global program this summer. I'll actually be teaching the advanced trends course during the next session. And that's me with the VR headset that I was just doing some VR work last week. So that's a relatively recent picture of me being very geeky. And then I will introduce my co-presenter, or he will introduce himself.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Joe, and I'm actually a reading recovery teacher leader for the Flemington-Raritan School District. And for those of you who aren't familiar with reading recovery, it's an early intervention that's one-on-one with students in first grade who are struggling to learn how to read. So I work very closely with those students, and then I also train teachers in this early intervention of reading recovery. I've also been fortunate to be an adjunct professor at the College of New Jersey with their global studies, as well as some on-campus classes, Lesley University, and even Rutgers. And actually the last few years I've been presenting at a couple of literacy conferences, one in Providence, Rhode Island, and one in Columbus, Providence, Rhode Island, and Columbus, Ohio. So excited to be here.
So actually, Joe, I guess you can continue talking a little bit through these slides and just let me know when you want me to advance.
Sure. So we wanted to talk about motivation today to start us, to kind of springboard us into technology, because one of the challenges I think we face with students is the motivation and getting kids to be engaged and really wanting to participate more. And the slide you see right now is the National Reading Panel in 2000 had identified 5 key concepts at the core of every effective reading instruction program. And that was phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So these have been identified as these 5 pillars of early literacy and reading instruction. You can go to the next slide, Craig. And what happened is that was an early literacy focus, but then as kids are progressing, as they're moving into adolescence, the phonemic awareness and phonics becomes word study, and this idea of motivation becomes much more important. Because at this point, students start to have a 4th grade slump. There's this period of time where kids aren't as interested in reading and they're not as motivated to do as much in school. So we're going to take a quick poll from you. If you can go to the next one, Craig.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. This is for a tool called Poll Everywhere. It's one of our first tech tools. If you could just click on that link in the chat, It'll bring you to a page and you'll just have to type in your name. And then when you get there, a little multiple choice question will pop up. And then just tap on the answer that corresponds with your feedback. And if it's not working, let us know. All right, it looks like we have 3 results. Okay, there we go. Interesting.
Mhm.
Has anyone ever used Poll Everywhere before? This tool right here? It is super easy to use. polleverywhere.com. You sign up, you get a link. That's your personal link. So the link I sent you is my personal link. And then you can create multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blanks, matching questions for your students. And all they need to do is have that link open on their device. So their phone, their laptop, and then as you deliver questions, they automatically pop up on the student's phone, and you can gather data in the aggregate by kind of anonymizing them. So it allows students in the background to kind of contribute without having to worry so much about self-identifying. So it's really good for students who are struggling and don't want to speak up in class.
I've also used it in presentations when I've presented at conferences, and it's a great way to get large groups to participate in ways that maybe would have been a challenge in the past, because you can't really call on everyone. So it's a great opportunity for that too.
And we'll talk more about how to use this in a little bit. We have another section on this. Joe, do you want to talk about the data then?
Yeah, so as you can see, like we're split. A third have read printed, a third on the computer, and a third on the phone. When really we look at it, 2/3 of us are using digital media. We're using phones, we're using our computer. We're actually not reading as much perhaps on paper, on printed magazines or books. Go ahead to the next slide though, Greg. So this is just according to the Pew Research Center about how many people are reading. This is only the United States, but 37% say they only read print books. So that's kind of close to what we had, because we had 33% in this small sample that we had today. But when you look at digital books only, it was 7%, 28% were both print and digital. So again, we're kind of falling into that aggregate. And as the workforce and as schools are becoming much more technology inclusive, it's really important for us to have students keep up with the modern digital trends while still obtaining a deep understanding of course content. So we really want to make sure that we're recognizing that this landscape is changing and kids' interests are changing. So we need to make sure that we're kind of merging the two. And it's interesting because the projected ebook sales in 2025, currently they're 5.91 billion. They're projected to go up to 7.78 billion in 2025. And the e-reader sales are projected to go up to 98.95 million, which will be up from 77.94 million. So there's going to be a huge increase in the technology that we're going to be using in the next couple of years. So Craig, you can go ahead to the next slide. So all that is basically just showing that numerous studies have supported the idea that overall student motivation and engagement in learning is enhanced by the implementation of instructional technologies. You know, more specifically, technology engages students behaviorally, so there's more effort and time spent participating in learning activities. It's also emotionally positively impacting attitudes and interests towards learning. It's kind of making it fun. You know, we'll talk a little bit later about gamification and just how that really strikes with the current trends in students. And it also increases their cognitive abilities because mental investment to comprehend the content. You can go to the next slide, Craig. And, you know, I think however we integrate technology, it's really given students the opportunities to interact with us, to collaborate, and it's enhancing their knowledge of the actual tools and really giving us a way to prepare them for, as we said, this workforce that they're going to be joining in the next couple of years. Because as we saw, more and more digital resources are going to be part of everyday life. Think about just the last year that we've had on Zoom. You know, so many of us were thrust into it, and we have to prepare our students and engage them. So that's why we wanted to talk a little bit about that motivation piece.
Okay, so now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about tech. That's my thing. I'm a computer science professor, so I'm all about the bits and the bytes. So so our goal today is to give you tools that you can use both in person and online. We know that depending on where you are in the world, and we've all seen last year, we could switch to online instruction at the drop of a hat. So we want to give you tools that you could use both with your students in the classroom, as well as if you have to go back to a hybrid or an online model. We're going to cover cloud-based tools. These are tools that don't require you to install anything on your computer. It's great. It's the model that Google Drive uses, where, you know, as long as you have a hyperlink, you can access the tool, and the web browser becomes the software package that we need to make this work. All the tools we're going to cover can be used right away, but some are free, and some use a model what are called freemium. So freemium tools, if you haven't seen those before, those are the tools that you can use online, and there's a subset of features that you can access. And then if you want to access the whole shebang, you can go ahead and you can pay for the premium version. We'll identify that ahead of time. Joe and I have no connections to any of these software packages, so we will not get a kickback if you use any of them. These are just things that we found to be useful in our own practice. And we're going to try to provide a diverse set of tools, but keep in mind that some tools don't work depending on where you are in the world. Now, I think during our pre-conversation, most of us are in the US, but Jason, you're in China. So there are some tools that we're going to cover today that are just simply inaccessible. The Google Suite, for example, is very unsupported in China. So, so we'll make sure to put that out ahead of time. Also, I'm going to be using a technique that I use in my class that I call fire hosing. So fire hosing is, you see that dog trying to drink from the fire hose right there? So what I normally do is I dump a lot of tech very fast at people. I'm just like a rapid fire. Your time is precious. You're paying a lot of money to be here. I want to give you a lot of tools. Do not feel overwhelmed by the amount of things we're going to cover. No good teacher would use all of the tools that we're planning on covering today in one lesson. What we want to do is give you a taste of what is possible. And if something resonates with you, please go ahead and write it down and feel free to use it. If not, it's not for you, and that's totally okay. Everything we are going to cover, though, and I'm going to paste this into the chat, is available on a resource page. So if you go to that resource page that I just linked inside the chat, let me go ahead and make sure that I did it. Did it come through in the chat? Yeah. That resource page will take you to this Google Doc here. This Google Doc has links to everything we're planning on covering, as well as demos and quick descriptions, and whether it's free or not free. So there's lots and lots and lots of tools that you can access through this. I would recommend not clicking around and accessing the tools till we get to them, though, because I'll give you some more context to each one of them. Okay, does that make sense? You guys ready to get started then?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start with the lowest common denominator. I always say the easiest way to kind of hook into your students and get them started is through video, right? Video is the easiest place to get started. You want to start a lesson, you need a hook video. Video is kind of a start place. So let's talk about some tools that you can use to support video in the classroom. So if I was to ask you, if you're looking for a video, what website would you go to for that video?
YouTube.
Everyone answers YouTube, of course. YouTube would be the #1 place. Largest repository of videos on the planet, owned by Google, incredibly ad supported. It's a huge behemoth of a site. And you can go to YouTube and you can find a video on almost anything. However, YouTube can be overwhelming. There could be so many things, and it's difficult to sift through and find what's actually useful for you. So one tool that I found really useful for educators is this curated tool called Watch, Know, Learn. So Watch, Know, Learn, there's a link in and don't feel like you have to write down all the links. All the links are in that Google Doc, and that'll be around forever. Watch, Know, Learn is a great website that where educators will go ahead and pre-curate videos based on subject matter. So let's say, for example, you're teaching math. We can go in here, we can find mathematics, and I'm interested in teaching, I don't know, geometry. But I don't want to do high school geometry. I want to do geometry for younger learners. I can go up here and use the age filter and only find videos that are appropriate for younger students. So Watch, Know, Learn and video clearinghouse sites like this generally don't host the videos. They link out to YouTube or Vimeo or one of the other video hosting packages, but they'll go ahead and pre-curate that for you. And that can sometimes make it easier for you as a teacher to find things that you're actually looking for. So there's a couple links in the Google Doc on different sites you can use to search, and that kind of gets you around using the whole YouTube interface. Okay, any questions so far? These are easy stuff. Let's bring it up a notch. Let's say you need a hook video. You're introducing a new topic. One of my favorite new websites for this is this one here called ClassHook. So ClassHook is another video searching site. And what you can do is you can search for a topic that you're planning on introducing. And they have curated videos that will go ahead and pull from popular television and television shows and movies that will address that topic. So for example, I'm searching here for pedagogy, and I can go down here and there's a clip from The Simpsons, there's a clip from Lean On Me, there's a really funny one from The Big Bang Theory, and these are all short little clips that you can use to get your students' attention, and then once you have that attention, you can then start your lesson. So most of them are relatively short, and it's something you can integrate right away. And this is a freemium site, meaning that you can access it for free, but there are certain restrictions to searching. You can only use a certain number of clips, and but you could check it out. It is very generous though in terms of getting started. So this one's called ClassHook, and if you need something quick, it's a good one to get started with. Something else. Let's see. So I won't actually show you the video, but it was very funny. One of the big problems with YouTube. So here's a YouTube video. I was searching the last summer in Mallorca because I was feeling very reminiscent about Mallorca, right? So I was watching this video, and as I started watching it, an ad popped up, right? Like YouTube is terrible for that. And also, you probably never want to give your students a link to a YouTube page because they're going to start looking at the related videos. God forbid they're going to go down and look at the comments. Like that's a cesspool down there. You don't want to have anything to do with the rest of this page. So one really easy way to go ahead and remove all of that is to use a tool like this. So this one here is called Watchkin. So Watchkin will allow you to take a YouTube video. So I'll just go ahead and grab the link to the YouTube video. Then I'll go over to Watchkin and I'll paste in the link to that. And I'll click search. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a clean version of this video without any ads. So when it starts up, there won't be any ads. And if there are any pop-ups or things on top of there, it'll remove that. There's another one here that actually works a little better than Watchkin. It's called Safe Share. But they do the same thing. You paste in the link to your YouTube video, and it'll create a safe viewing link that you can then share with your students or use in your classroom, and it will remove all of the ads and overlays that might have been part of this video. So, so this is a useful way to kind of pre-curate and prevent those gotcha moments in class where an inappropriate ad might show up or something that you don't want your students to see. Any questions so far? Stuart, yeah, your hand's up.
Yeah, look, I just have to unmute. Okay, so that creates a link that you can give to your class. It doesn't give you an MP4.
It does not, but I'm going to show you the MP4 one next. Yeah.
Right, because I have a plugin or an add-on in Firefox that I can get the MP4s, and that's what I do to get rid of the ads and to So. And
that's a great choice, and I'm going to show that technique in a moment on how to do it. And I may actually have a more modern approach for using the plugin that might actually work better. So yeah, but that's all. Local video is also another choice. These are all cloud-based video. That's a real good observation. Another video tool that I find very useful, let's say you have a very long video, right? You want your students to watch a 20-minute video, but you want to focus their attention on certain areas of that video. One of my favorite tools for doing this one, it's an open source tool by the University of Minnesota called Video Ant, A-N-T. And what Video Ant does is it allows you to post a link to a YouTube video, and then you can go ahead and you can create kind of a table of contents within that video. So you can say, oh, at this point in the video, we're going to talk about, so this is about Ada Lovelace, the world's first computer programmer. We're going to talk about the importance of mathematics in Ada Lovelace's life. And then at this point, we could talk about Ada Lovelace's first meeting with the engineer Charles Babbage. clicking on any of these links right here will jump you right into the video to that spot in the video. So these are kind of hot links that allowed students to jump around from concept to concept inside of a video. So think of them like links within a video, right? So, so this is a really useful one for kind of pre-curating or allowing your students to create their own little tables of contents on top of other videos as reports or as part of a project. Totally free tool maintained by the University of Minnesota. You simply sign in with your Google account, put in your link to whatever video. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be Vimeo or another video curation site, and you can create your little table of contents there. All right, good. 2 more video tools, and then we're done with video, and we'll move on to something else. Another video tool, in fact, probably the biggest video tool right now that I would recommend getting started with is this one here called Kapwing, K-A-P-W-I-N-G. Kapwing is enormous. This website, Kapwing, has tools for doing anything you want with video. Do you want to have a video editor? Do you want to trim a video? Do you want to download a video? Do you want to, do captioning for your video? There are tools for everything you can possibly do with video. One of my favorite tools in Kapwing is the ability to take a video and only extract a small piece of it. So if I go over here to this Mallorca video that I had a moment ago, I can copy that link. I can bring it over here into Kapwing, and I could paste it in. It'll bring in the video, and then I can choose to trim that video and only focus my students' attention on a small piece of it. So for example, if I only want the first 38 seconds, I could just trim it down to something like that. And now I only have a very short version of that video. And then I can choose to either link it to my students, or as Stuart mentioned, I can go up here to export video, and I can actually download it as an MP4 file and save it as a file on my computer. So this allows you to not only download a file, but you can also trim the video first and only get a piece of the video that you need. It also, I don't know if you noticed up here, allows you to download it as an MP3. So if you only want the audio component of the video, you can just get the sound piece of it. So if you need a sound for a PowerPoint presentation or some sort of backing track, you can use Kapwing to be able to extract that out. Now, my disclaimer here is your mileage may vary, and copyright laws change depending on where you are in the world. Most of this stuff will be included under fair use if you're using it for classroom display and you're not using any more than 10% of the content. But with that said, you want to just check first to make sure that you're not breaking the law. But Kapwing is a really useful web-based suite for doing video editing. Okay, any questions, thoughts, observations, things about video, any other things you might want to talk about with video? How are you using video?
I showed the video.
You show the video.
I have like presentation coming up on like Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm gonna give it a try. I'm excited. Like, they're like, looks so rich, and I had no idea, like, so I'm just so, grateful that I'm sitting here today. So
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Great.
This year I found videos where it had a video clip, and then it had like language questions that you watched the clip, and then it stopped and it asked you a question, and then everybody would do the question, and then we'd go back to the video. I found that for the class, especially, we'd read a story and the video happened to be about like the movie on the story, so it gave them visuals. I thought it was a great way to make it interesting and keep it focused on the language.
Yeah. What tool did you use for that?
I would have to look it up.
Okay.
Yes, and it just had random ones. Every once in a while I'd find, like, I would look for material about a book that I would like. I remember one of it was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. We read the story, and then they had this video clip from the movie, but it was really like listening to the movie, and then they'd ask you, what did they say, or what were they talking about, so that you had to kind of make sure you were checking listening skills. So I really thought the whole visual and the stop and go of the questions. So it reminds me of your table of contents, but you were able to have a question there, and it was really a great tool, I thought.
It is an effective tool. These in-video assessments are becoming much more popular. One of the websites, this wasn't in my list of resources, but if you did want to build one of those, you could use this website here called Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle lets you put in a link to a video, and then you can do the same thing with the tables of contents, but instead of just having a marker there with some text, you can actually choose to put in a multiple choice question or some other little stop and check yourself moment. Now, they make money by having a school plan where you can pay to get analytics, you can capture your students' results and like put them in a spreadsheet. But if you just wanted to create a little self-study video with your own little questions in there, Edpuzzle would be a great free alternative for doing something like that.
Thank
And
you.
again, all of these things are drag and drop web-based. So it's, you can just follow a menu. You can set that up pretty easily. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Hey, Craig,
Yeah, sure. What's up, Keith?
quick question. So that's a really good question. So there are some German videos actually. So I'm learning German this past year, and there are 2 or 3 German teachers on YouTube who are really, really good. And what they've done is just, so tell me, my question is, what software would you recommend for building these, for creating these kind of videos where it's a teacher teaching, and if we're covering, there are 3 kind of verbs that do X, Y, Z. And behind me, I'm off to one side, and I'm not a little square in the corner. I'm there physically. I'm not a little dot in the corner, just narrating a PowerPoint. I'm actually there with you. And on the screen to my left or whatever comes up, gerunds, infinitives, X, Y, Z. And I was trying to find the one that would allow me to build the best videos with captions. It's not captions, with teaching material, with basically the teaching lesson right there with me, but videos that would be independent later on. I've asked lots of people and I get lots of answers because, well, last year for TCNJ, some of the workshops we went to, I remember I asked this question at my own university, but everybody ends up giving me something that works well within that system. But I want something I can create and I can put on YouTube, which is, it'll live outside of TCNJ, it'll live outside of my University of Central Florida. So what are 2 or 3 that, and I don't care, I don't mind paying for it. I just need to be able to do this well.
Right. So all of the tools we're covering here are all kind of off-the-shelf, web-based tools that just do one specific thing. It sounds like what you're talking about is creating a really comprehensive, rich, flipped lesson, some sort of maybe green screens and incorporating lots of media elements plus an assessment piece. So for doing something like that, I would actually recommend a more powerful program. The tool that I go to for doing anything kind of beyond the basics is this tool here. It's called Camtasia.
Yep.
So Camtasia Studio is not a free tool. It is also not a tool that runs on the web. You have to download it and install it on your computer. I'm not going to show you guys all the ins and outs of Camtasia. I just launched it right here. What Camtasia allows you to do is it allows you to do very deep video editing, but it also has assessment build-ins as well. Now, it won't allow you to publish that to YouTube with the assessment pieces. What you'd have to do is you'd have to create a package. So it would be, not to get too technical, but you'd create an HTML file and an MP4 file, and there would be like a little JavaScript package that would put them together. And then you could publish that wherever you want on any website. You wouldn't publish it to YouTube. You would have like keithfulse.com, and then you would have the website there, and people would be able to access all the interactive materials through that.
Okay.
But yeah, Camtasia would be the tool I would recommend for doing anything more than just the basic stuff. Joe and I actually use it a lot for producing review videos for our students or anything that I just can't do quickly on the web. I'll use Camtasia for that.
So what I'll do, I'll tell you separately, I'll just send you a link to this 1 or 2 German teachers and just tell me, what do you think they use? Camtasia, my university and TCNJ both have recommended that one. So
yeah,
cool.
send me the link. I'd be happy to help you reverse engineer that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's talk next, or switch over a little bit beyond video. Let's talk about some tools for assessing students. So remember back in the before times when we were with our students physically, right? Very often you might have had an activity in class that involved a worksheet, right? Like you would pass something out and students would fill out the worksheet, and there could be a variety of questions. Maybe it was a math worksheet where they would solve a math equation, or maybe it was a language worksheet where they type in some text, or maybe it was matching, right? So there's this really great new tool that's been out the last 2 years or so. It's this one here called Teacher Made. So Teacher MADE. And what Teacher Made does is it allows teachers to upload their existing worksheets. Do you have a worksheet as a PDF or a Word document, like something that you would just print out for your students? You upload it into Teacher Made, And what TeacherMade does is it creates an interactive worksheet that your students can fill out, and you can gather that data and analyze it on your own. Really useful for digitizing a paper-based worksheet. We're going to do a quick example here. So I'm going to go grab a link to one of these worksheets. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, I think I have it right here. Yeah. So this one right here, this is a math worksheet. I'm going to pop this into the chat. If you could, actually, let's do the geometry. Yeah, we'll do this one. That's fine. I'll pop that into the chat. When you go to this TeacherMade link, it's going to ask you to log in. Just log in with your Google account. So Jason, you might not be able to, but log in with whatever Google account you have, and it'll go ahead and then pull up this little math worksheet that appears. Give me a little thumbs up if it worked for someone and they can see the worksheet. Thanks, Joe.
Can I ask? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I always get worried that if I log in with my Google account or my Facebook account, that then they have access to things I don't want them to. So I always like try to just create a new. Is that a realistic concern, or am I?
It's a great question. So whenever you're using a central authentication tool like Google or Facebook or any of these like centralized systems, they always have to tell you legally what they're requesting access to. So most times they're only going to request access. It'll say like they want to see your name and your email address. And that's usually like basic. I would get worried if that little pop-up that comes up says, would like full access to your Google Drive. That's a problem, right? So you want to choose what you're comfortable with. I honestly, as a tech user, prefer signing in with my Google account, because if I ever want to, I could just go into my central Google account and deactivate my connection to that app. It gives me much more control, because how many times have you signed up for a website and you'll never use it again, and there's this random username and password in somebody's database, and at some point that thing's going to get hacked and that information will get out into the public. Whereas if you're using your Google account, you can protect your Google account with a really strong, long password and only make sure that you keep that one going, and then you can deactivate it later. So I actually do recommend using these federated large authentication systems for doing that. Okay, so did anybody fill out that worksheet? Little thumbs up if you did.
Hey Joel, I'm Craig. Craig, on mine, it came up to app.teachermade.com, and it was just a blank screen. It never pulled up anything.
Oh, it didn't?
It says submit demo worksheet assignment.
Oh, so you didn't see this little worksheet here?
No, on your screen, yeah, but not on mine. Mine's it pulled Safari up, and it went through Safari.
Huh. Well, I mean, that's a bug maybe. Yeah. Did it pull up for anybody else? Did it pull up for Joe?
I got the same screen as Dr. Fultz.
Okay. So there might be a problem with TeacherMade.
I was able to, Craig.
You were able to?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was able to, but I was only able to do the first three, right?
Yeah, I only did the first three. I only set up the first three.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I will check into that then. So maybe this is a tool not to use. This is one that I actually haven't used with my students. But what this does for us is, once you've created this little demo worksheet, so that's what I did. That's this demo one right here. I can go over here, and when I'm finished, I can click on it and I can, maybe I didn't create the assignment. There we go. These are the people who started it. So I can see all of my students who took it, and I can see your scores. You can see I was the lowest. Jason and I missed one each, right? So you can get statistics on your paper-based worksheet using TeacherMade. Now, of course, it seems like there are some issues to work through, but you can upload any document on your computer and turn it into an interactive form. This is really nice, because very often when we want to collect information from our users or our students, we'll use something like Google Forms, which requires us to translate the whole worksheet into a Google form, which can be a pain. But doing something like this, you retain the formatting, you retain the original questions, and you just create an overlay on top that allows students to use that as a built-in input mechanism. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, again, this one didn't work as well as I wanted to. Some of these are garbage, and that's okay. All right. The next one Joe and I wanted to talk about, and this is where I'm going to turn it over to Joe a little bit, is Flippity. Has anyone used Flippity before?
I like the name.
It's a great name. Yeah, this is. I wish I bought that domain when it was available. So, so Flippity is all about creating tiny, small, interactive units that you can use in your classroom. So, for example, if you want to pick a student at random, Flippity has a name picker. And you can go over here, and if I pull up like the demo for the name picker, these are the names, and we can spin it, and it'll spin the wheel, and it'll pick one of the students at random. Or if I want to put the students in groups of 2 or groups of 3 or groups of 4, Flippity has tools for doing all of those things. How does it work? Well, Flippity is all about, you can fill in a template as a Google spreadsheet. So if I go over here and I click get a template, what it does is it makes a copy of a Google spreadsheet into my Google Drive. And it's doing it right now. As soon as that template appears, you can then go ahead and just type in the names of your students, and it'll automatically put this in the wheel picker for you. So I could put all of your names here, and we can create a name picker for everybody in our class. So it's a real easy way for creating these little interactive manipulatives. So so I don't know, Joe, do you want me to pull up the one here? Do you want to? Yeah.
Well, can you go to the skip the spreadsheet part? Because one of the things, you know, as Craig was talking about this tool, when you need it very quickly and you don't want to have to download it. So like last year when we were thrust into, you know, emergency teaching online, I was still working one-on-one with students, and I had first graders who needed to do certain parts of a lesson in order for them to learn certain things. And like Craig said, you know, you have the random name picker, there's the fun with fonts if you wanted to work with students in terms of getting them to identify high frequency words. So very early literacy development pieces. But the other piece that I used a lot was down at the bottom, and it was the second one from the bottom called manipulatives. And what that does is part of our lesson as first grade with some of our first graders is they write a sentence and then we cut up that sentence into the individual words and the child has to reassemble it. So for example, if we write a sentence like, I went to the store, and then we click manipulatives, it breaks it apart like that for the student. And then the student is actually the one responsible, because you can either give control to the student for the screen and they could do it, or in the instances where my students weren't able to, we have a video to kind of show you how it looked in action.
Yeah.
But it's a great tool, especially when you're working with kids on trying to get them to recognize one-to-one match, even just word versus letters. This is a great tool for that.
Yeah. Do you want me to play the video then, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead, play the video. So this is a video of me with my student, Aaron, from this past fall in school.
Yep.
Actually, one more.
That's it. Go ahead. You circle which word goes first.
So he had to circle the word, and then I would.
Keep going.
When my
So this was, you can hear him saying the word, stretching out the word slowly. This would be an activity that normally in person, there would be a sentence strip that he would be manipulating with his hands, but here is an opportunity for him to do it online.
This also works really well if you're sharing your screen, like with Zoom, and you give the student control. You can present the activity and they can just drag and drop on their own. Or as Joe mentioned here, allowing the student just to kind of annotate, and then he moved it around for them. And if you have a smartboard, if you're back in person, projecting this onto a smart whiteboard in your classroom would make it, it would be an automatic manipulative right away. So it's kind of a 2-for-1.
Yeah, but Flippity has a lot of great tools in it. And especially, like I said, for early literacy development, they're really powerful ways to engage kids in it, but also to make it so that if you have to do it remotely, you can still meet the needs of whatever the task is.
Some other cool things that you can do with Flippity if you want to get a little further. So this thing that Joe mentioned here, skip the spreadsheet, lets you just type in whatever you want. So if we're going to do like let's do a word search, and we're going to do like apple, pear, and peach. We can click on word search and it'll generate a little word search out of that thing that I just created. So there's all these tiny little micro activities that you can start with your basics and then create a little activity after that.
There's also the matching game one, which is also like memory. So if you have students learning terms, like I'm thinking, Keith, if there's words that they have to, translate, you put in the words and they have to match them up. So it would be like, oh, pineapple, apple, no, not the right match. So then I got to keep going. But it's a great, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's great. And also I can't tell you guys how much time trying to find, because I'm doing German again, where word order, I can't even begin to describe how interesting it is in German. But the same thing, we do this in English, but we do in English, since you don't, like the kid's sentence where he had, I go to Miami with my dad, what he did, he had that personal phrase in a place where I normally wouldn't have put it, but in designing the activity, they're both possible in English. How do you control for that? Well, we control by putting go and with as a chunk on the lines. I mean, I know what you're doing here. It's amazing. So if you wanted to create a scrambled word activity, will this produce a worksheet, or will this work? I want to have a worksheet stored somewhere that's scrambled chunks that's manipulable. Is that the word? For that. I mean, what would you guys recommend? This is amazing.
Let's say you wanted to do that manipulative, right? So
Yeah.
I would go over here to Flippity. So when Joe's just working with this with his students, you'll just use skip the spreadsheet, right, Joe?
Yeah, I use that because that's something that I need. It changes every single day. I'm not doing what you're talking about, Keith, where it has to be kept. But if you want to keep it, I think Craig's going to explain that.
Yeah, so if you want to keep it, Keith, what you do is on the main Flippity page, you find the tool that you want. So we have Flippity Manipulatives, and we go over here and we go to Template. Okay. And then this will make a copy of the Google spreadsheet that can be used to create a permanent version of that manipulative. So right now, these are all the words that are in there. So these are all characters from The Office, right? So you would put in your words, and you can even choose the color that you want to go along with those. You can color certain words. If you want to color the verbs one color and the nouns one color, you can apply colors to those. Then what you do is you go over here, and it's a decent process. You fill out the spreadsheet just like you would in any other Google app. The only weird thing is you got to go up to File and you choose Publish to the Web. And as soon as you publish this thing to the web, you've now made this into a tool. And then you can go down here to get the link here. And then you got a little link. And when you click on that link, it's now the words that you added in a random order. And they'll always be those words. And let's say we want to add some new words to this. Let's say we go over here and we're like, oh, you know what? I want to add in, let's actually erase these. Let's put in the fruits again, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll put in like apple, pear, peach, orange, grapefruit. Mm-hmm. And I'll take these colors and I'll move these up here. Actually, yeah, we'll just put the colors are not going to match the fruits, but that's okay. And then I can just go over here, and as soon as I do that, I can go back to my Flippity page, and now it's the Office people, but as soon as I reload it now, it's just going to be the ones that I added. This link keep up here, that's permanent. You can put that link on a resource page for your students, and every time they click on that link, they will get these 4 words. And if you want to add more words at any time, you simply open up your Google Drive and you add new words into your spreadsheet, and the manipulatives will automatically update and grab the new words and create an activity for your students.
Wow. That would be so cool. I see, and again, in doing this German class, which is related to ESL, the word order is just crucial. And I see so little what I consider useful stuff. I mean, it's all fill in the blank. It's all multiple choice. It's nothing that makes me think about, well, why would those 2 words they could kind of, but they shouldn't touch each other because of X, Y, Z, right? This is perfect, great.
Yeah, and then if you want to take it further, there's no assessment piece here. So it's not going to check to see if they got anything right. These are just like magnetic letters you would have on your refrigerator. But with that said, you could combine this with Camtasia or another tool and actually like take a snapshot of it and record yourself doing it, or do an annotation on top to kind of give students feedback. So yeah, this can be the starting point for a larger project.
Excellent. Thank you guys.
No problem. For people who are teaching different subjects, there are plenty of other Flippity tools that you could use. One of my favorites in middle and high school is the Flippity timeline. So there's a really easy timeline creator if you need to sequence events. You're doing a book report. The Flippity timeline will allow you to create these. So this is Mr. Rogers, right? So we've got all of these different events in Mr. Rogers' life, and you can click through and learn more about each one. You can even include some photos inside of there. And to build this in Flippity, all you have to do is you have to fill in the spreadsheet, right? So you just put in the date, the event, the text, and it will go ahead and create a timeline based off of the information that you put in there. So if you can edit a spreadsheet, you can use Flippity to create these interactive experiences for your students. There's a lot to play around here. So it's kind of my go-to if I need to do something fun in class. Okay. Any questions on that?
And that's free?
Yeah, totally free. Totally
Okay.
free.
Now
Yeah.
we're talking.
All right. Joe, do you want to talk about kind of a little lower level version of this?
Yeah. So the other thing is, again, going to early literacy development, kindergarten, first graders, learning the alphabet, obviously, and phonemic awareness, phonics, letter sound association. We use a lot of magnetic letters, manipulatives. When we went to remote, we couldn't do that. So there is this great website. It's just called bigbrown.co.uk, and you can actually create, and you have magnetic letters, and you can type the letters down at the bottom, and then they come up at the top like that. Or you can actually, Craig, if you want to, just put your cursor up next to the G and then type on your keyboard the letter you want. So again, it was just a way for kids to be able to then manipulate them, because now you could share your screen and the child could move them around just as if they were in person. So find me all the E's, put all the E's together, whatever it might have been. You can also, one of the things we did was show them how letters make up words. It's very easy in person. Online, it was hard to do that. But with this, they can see that as they move it letter by letter, they're making a word, and that those letters make up the word. So it was a really great tool for, like I said, kindergarten, first grade, for them. We have a video, but I don't think we need to show that video, Craig, of that. So.
You want to talk about your old Conan boxes?
Yeah. So again, we talk about phonemic awareness and having kids understand the sound, that phonemes make sounds, and there's a representation of it. So Elkonin boxes are a tool that we use to develop their phonemic awareness. So in this case, it's two sounds. So it might be the word it. So you control by pushing in the sound. So you would say, for the child to say, all right, say the word slowly with me. And then I would move the chip in. So it would be it. So the kids are getting to be able to recognize that, okay, that is a word and it has two sounds in it. You can change it by going up to as many as 5 or 4. And then the same thing, if this were the word,
Want me to change it to a 3?
Yeah, change it to a 3. I'm trying to think of a 4. Like if I was doing cat, again, we'd say it slow, cat. And then you want either the child to say it slow and then you're manipulating it, or you're manipulating it and the child says it slowly. You can switch it back and forth. Ultimately, you want the kid to be able to do it. But it's just an early literacy development tool that's great, and it can be done at home. Like you can share this link with the parents, and then the parents can practice it with their student or their child as well.
So taking it a little further then, if you want to create more detailed manipulatives, a really fun website, it's a freemium website, is this one here called TinyTap. Has anybody seen TinyTap before? Okay, so TinyTap lets you create very rich clickable games for your students using your own pictures. So this one right here is called Living and Non-Living Things. We're going to play it real quick. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to start it up.
Welcome to Living and Non-Living Things with Millie and Finn in a backyard exploration. Millie and Finn are exploring their backyard. Can you help them find living things?
So now the teacher pauses and we have to click around. So if I click on the butterfly,
Great! The butterfly is a living thing.
so we can go ahead and provide custom audio feedback based on where the child clicks.
That's right. The dog is a living
So
thing.
it's kind of like a PowerPoint that pauses, that allows you, the student, to play around and provide some basic feedback, and they can't progress until they actually get through each of the little the slides that you create. If you wanted to do this, there are tons of pre-made experiences on the TinyTap website. But the great thing about TinyTap is you can actually create your own games with your own images and your own sounds. So if I go into the TinyTap site over here and let's create, I don't know, let's choose like the farm, because I like the farm. Let's see. We'll do back to school, that's good. We'll choose like the background there. Great, and let's put like some students in the world. So I'm just creating a real basic world like this. And then I can go back over here and let's make an activity out of this. So let's make this a, I don't know, soundboard. So I can go over here and I can trace a shape. So I could go over here and go around the bus. And then I can record and I can say, this is a school bus. Now, when students go ahead and click on this one, this is a school bus. They'll hear me say, this is a school bus, right? And when I'm completely finished, it will create for me a little TinyTap game where I can send the link to my students and they can access all of my media, all of my pictures, all of my sounds, and create a little interactive game off of that. So it's all drag and drop, click. You can use your own pictures, you can use your own sounds, and create your own little experience for your students. This thing works really well if your students have iPads, because TinyTap has a great iPad app where you can kind of curate all of their experiences, although that you can do it all completely on the web as well. So, so if you have a little extra time and you want to create a little experience for your students, a little asynchronous thing, a little take-home thing, TinyTap might be a good option for you. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Let's talk now. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about audience response systems. So when we are working with students at a distance, or even in a large class, I teach mega classes at NYU. My class this coming semester has 184 enrolled with 60 on the waiting list. So we're talking the cavernous auditoriums, right? There's no way I can call on my students and actually get representation of what they're actually thinking or feeling. So I will often use tools like the one I showed you earlier, Poll Everywhere, to be able to take the temperature of my class and allow students to respond kind of in the aggregate. So I wanted to show you some cool tools that you could use to be able to reach your students kind of at a distance. So one tool that recently came across my desk, and I really just found it so interesting. I mean, we've been doing a couple things with Google Spreadsheets. This is a real simple Google Spreadsheet with two boxes, yes and no. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share this link with you. So if you guys could click on this Google Spreadsheet link, it'll take you to this page right here. So this is something, and I created this template. You guys can just make a copy of it if you want to do it yourself with your own students. I can see that 2-3 people have joined in. This spreadsheet is set up so that anybody in the world in the link can join. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to move your mouse around. Click your mouse around on the page. And can you kind of see how all those little boxes are moving? Those are you guys. That's where your cursors are right now, right? I've set up this spreadsheet so that you can go anywhere. So if I want to do a quick yes/no question saying, are you in New Jersey right now? Put your box in the yes or the no block. Are you in New Jersey right now? You can say, okay, look, we have 5 people over there and 3 people in the no area right here. So we can very easily take the temperature of a class just by doing that. Now, if you, in your box, type in where you are in the world. Make sure you have your own little area. So where are you right now? So now we're slowly watching as the spreadsheet is opening up and people are typing in, like I am in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to type Pennsylvania for mine. And slowly but surely, as you guys add things, you're going to be able to see that. Now I've set up this spreadsheet so that you can only edit the regions that are no and yes. So students can't click outside. And it's an easy way for you to be able to get, to kind of quickly take the temperature without having to sign up for a special account or anything. You can just Google to create a simple audience response system. Okay, if you want to go a little further and you want to create even more, we're not going to use this one anymore. You want to create more interactive experiences for your students. One of my absolute favorites, and we used it at the beginning of class, is this one here called Poll Everywhere. So Poll Everywhere is a freemium site. You can use it for free. The limitations are, and I put the link in the chat right there. The limitations on Poll Everywhere are you can have up to 25 people participating at the same time. Any more than 25, you have to pay for it. We are less than 25, so this is going to be totally fine. When you go to the Poll Everywhere site, you are given a custom Poll Everywhere URL that you share with your students, and then you can create activities for your students. So for example, I'm going to launch an activity. Here's an activity I create for my students. This is kind of an exit ticket. I use at NYU. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate this one. If you clicked on that link, you should be able to see that the page just lit up right now, and you should see the little faces, right? So how's the session going for you so far? Tap on the face that corresponds with how you feel, right? So we can go ahead and we can do very quick response. I can see most of you guys are having a good time, so thank you. If we want, we can do all sorts of other types of questions as well. So I'm going to go back. Let's see another question I want to ask you. Let's ask you, okay, this is going to be a totally unfair question because these are my computer science students. So here's a, I'll clear the responses here. So like just click on anything, but this one will just show you, like you can incorporate, this is some computer code, and I asked the students to predict what the computer would generate here. You can just click on anything you want, and we'll be able to see the bar chart will change. But this is a great little stop and check activity that you can use in your class to be able to kind of pause, take the temperature, and then move on based on what you're doing. You can put any type of question you want through Poll Everywhere. And it's nice because students don't have to, they only need a single device, and most times nothing's happening. You choose when you want a question to show up. You choose when you want to activate that question.
It's saying that I need a NYU password.
Oh, right, because this one was set up just for my students. Right, let me activate one that is not. How about this one? This is an open-ended question, I think. Yeah, so this is an open-ended, this is actually a good one to try. So did this one pop up for you?
Hold on.
Qualities of a good teacher. So this is more open-ended. We're not going to do multiple choice. We're just going to ask you for your feedback. What this is going to do is this is going to create a word cloud based on all of your responses in real time. So somebody typed in patience. So we've got one there. Let's see if I can do some stuff here. So
I can't open the link. I mean,
you can't open the link?
no, like I'm just been trying.
I'm going to paste it again. Could you try clicking on that one?
Same thing. Yeah, no, okay.
And what does it say?
Now it did, actually.
Okay. So now you can type in that blank, and you can type in a word, and you can see in real time we're starting to collect a word cloud in class. The words that are getting bigger are the words that students are typing more often. So
Like any,
yeah, go ahead.
just any words for now, like
Any word, yeah.
Yeah.
You can even just type the word hello. Like it doesn't matter as much right here. This is just showing what you can do with Poll Everywhere, but just an easy way to ask questions of your students.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is Poll Everywhere. Again, limitations are 25 active participants at the same time. Mm-hmm. For most of your classes, you'll be well below that limit. So it's a good tool to kind of keep it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Other tools that you can use in this vein. I'm not going to go through all of them. A really fun, useful one that a lot of teachers use is this one here called Socrative. So Socrative is very similar to Poll Everywhere, but it's designed for kids, and they have a series of questions. It's not as full featured as Poll Everywhere. You can do a quick multiple choice, true, false, short answer. You can create quizzes ahead of time, and you can create exit tickets for students. And with Socrative, students, again, have a website. They go to the website, and as you activate the questions, students can respond. They're a little more generous when it comes to using them in the classroom. They have a larger education base, so they have more features that are available for free for teachers. So Poll Everywhere and Socrative would be the two that I'd recommend if you want to do this sort of work in your class. How about the game? Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I've actually used this one when I do a lot of K-12, especially elementary school workshops for people who don't know anything about ESL, as a sort of as a hook to show them that I'm not just going to come do a bunch of BS today. This is real stuff I'm talking about. We do it's a multiple choice, like, what do you know about some of these things already? And I have that data. I use that data to show how little native speakers know about English that you're trying to instruct to people, even though you know your stuff, you don't know the ESL stuff. So that, I mean, I have so much really good data on, and I stumbled into this site one time. This is probably this is pre-pandemic, where I had this. And it also didn't cost me anything, and everybody could. I don't need to know what kind of machine you're on or device. Everybody was able to go into it for 17 minutes, do this thing before we started the workshop. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you can also assign these things as homework to your students and grab the data that way as well. So it's if you're standardizing on this platform, it's a really nice one to play around with. And it's much more focused on education than Poll Everywhere. Poll Everywhere was really designed for mega conferences and doing audience response from like thousands of people, whereas Socrative is really focused on just a small classroom experience. So those are some tools that you can use. Now there are also tools that, and we don't have a ton of time, and I want to get through things. But there are also tools we can use for gamifying audience response. So how many of you have used Kahoot? Right? You've seen Kahoot?
Yeah, my kids love Kahoot.
Everyone loves Kahoot. So if you haven't seen Kahoot before, it's a web-based game show where you can create questions and students can vote and they can join teams and they can race, and it's really easy to get started. There are a lot of new tools, and in our resource page, there's a few that I have linked here. So Kahoot is one that a lot of teachers use. Another one that, and I never finished typing it in here. I will type in the little descriptions later on. Quizzes is another one that's similar to Kahoot that will let you create questions for your students and they can respond in real time. Do you want to try one of these? Do you want to try this new one here called Blook It? It's kind of fun. Yeah, let's try Blook It real quick. So this right here, this is Blook It. And what Blook It lets you do is it lets you create questions, and then we can all participate in kind of a game show around that. So the quiz that we're going to take right now is name that logo. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a quiz, and you're going to see some popular logos from around the world, and you're going to have to name what that logo is. So what I would do is I would prepare my quiz ahead of time, and then what I would do is I'd go up here and I'd click host. And when I go ahead and host the quiz, I choose what game mode I want to play with my students. Now, normally when you play Kahoot, it's something like this, where they just vote on 4 choices. That's the standard Kahoot model. There are all sorts of other models here. For example, you can create a racing game or a tower defense game, like all sorts of different games for your students with the same questions. We're going to do a racing game today. So I'm going to go over here to racing, and I'm going to host this game. I'm only going to ask you a small number of questions. We're only going to do 5 questions. And I'm going to now. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to paste this into chat. I'm also going to, by the way, pro tip in Chrome, you can just right click on the tab and choose mute tab to shut up the audio. So I just turned the audio off on that tab so we don't have to hear it. Now, if you guys can click on that link that I just posted there. Oh, maybe that link isn't active. Let me put the protocol at the beginning. There's the link. Lookit.com/play. If you can click on that, and when you get there, I want you to type in the code that I have up here, 677422. That's our code. We can see that Joe has joined the game.
I'm in Safari and I couldn't open it. Didn't open. Okay, let me try again.
Fortunately, my Google Chrome is not being very happy with it.
No?
Yeah, let me try again. I'll just try it again.
Honestly, if we can't all do it, it's not a big deal.
No, it's not open in Safari. Yeah.
So again, these are tech challenges that you would want to try to work out with your students ahead of time. maybe we would have them at the end of the day. We would give it a try first, and when it was kind of a low stakes time during class. But yeah, if we can't get a critical number of people in here, then we're not going to play the book game. But if you did want to create an interactive game with your students, then this would be a fun free website to go ahead and create some sort of live review experience with your students. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the game. So you can just close the tab. We don't have enough people to play, so we're gonna close. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We have 20 minutes left. So let's go through some tools that don't require audience participation. First one I want to talk about. Let's see. Let's talk about some brainstorming and graphic organizing tools that you can use. So here are some simple ones that you can use in your classes pretty easily. So this one right here, this is probably one of the most dead simple ways of creating a mind map off of text. So this website right here, it looks very unassuming, right? There's a box over here where I can type, and there's a white canvas with a little square in the center, and that's it. What I can do over here on this website is I can just start typing on the left. So let's talk about dogs today. So I'm going to say dogs. As soon as I type the word dogs, you can see the box changes and it contains the word dogs over there. Now let's say I want to categorize types of dogs. Let's say there are 2 types of dogs I want to categorize. I want to categorize big dogs. I want to categorize small dogs. And those, as I type in the list over here, just like a regular bulleted list you would do in Microsoft Word or Google Drive, it creates little nodes, little mind map nodes for me. Now, if I go over here to small dogs and I hit enter and I tab under it, I can say, what type of small dogs are there? Well, there's Boston Terriers and there's Whippets. And as I'm typing, it's creating this little mind map for me based on my text. If you know how to create a bulleted list in Word, you can create a mind map off of that and create a little visual layout of that information. You just simply go to the website, you start typing, no sign in, completely free, and it's just kind of a fun, easy way to kind of create a visual off of a hierarchy of concepts. Now, if you want to go a little further and you want to do kind of a little more advanced version of this, one of my favorite sites for this one is called Transno. Again, links in the Google Doc. Transno lets you do the same thing. So I can type in dogs. I'm going to do the types of dogs are going to be big dogs and small dogs. And under small dogs, I'm going to do Whippets, and I'm going to do Boston Terrier. And I'm also going to do Great Dane, which is wrong. There should be no Great Danes under small dogs, but I did that deliberately. Now, this looks just like a document. In Transno, you can switch between document mode and mind map mode. So it turns my mind map into text, and then I can go back to outline mode, and I can edit in either mind map mode or text mode. So for example, over here, I can grab that Great Dane and I can drag it over here to big dogs, and that automatically is going to visually change, but also change the outline as well. This is a great tool for students who are a bit more visual, who want to lay out a story or a series of concepts visually on a mind map, and then turn it into an outline that they can then use to scaffold a writing experience or a writing problem. So it allows you to work both visually and text-based, and you can switch back and forth between the visual world and the text world.
And Craig, we can have 20 people working on this at one time?
Yeah, this is collaborative. So you can share the link just like a Google Doc, and we can all be working on the same mind map at the same time. Yeah.
So you could dump, if you have 20 items to classify into organs or systems of the body, you could dump them all in the wrong place. So instead of having a box that you dump them, they'd all start on the left-hand side. You have to decide which ones stay and which ones go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you could use this, and then students could work either in text mode or outline mode and drag them around as you go, and they can all be collaborative.
Cool.
Now, if you want to do something a little more visual than this, and you don't care so much about the outline version, many of us have seen, have you seen Jamboard this year, Google Jamboard?
I haven't used it though, but my department, they've used it.
Yeah, so Google Jamboard is kind of like a shared whiteboard that you can use for this. Again, we might not have the ability for people to do it because it seems like we're having some tech problems. Google Jamboard is great because if you already have Google installed, if I go up here to this Jamboard and I copy the link and I click out to everyone, this right here, if you click on that link, it's going to take you to this white screen. So the anonymous Buffalo joined. So somebody joined anonymously, not logged into a Google account. You can then use Jamboard to go over here on the left, and you can create sticky notes. So I'm going to create a sticky note that says hello. and it popped my sticky note out here in the world, and I can drag that sticky note. And you guys should note that on your screen, you should be seeing my hello sticky note moving around. You could add your own thing. I see somebody's using the pen over here to add things. So what you could do with this, Keith, is you could create a Jamboard structure for systems of the body, and you could put all the sticky notes, and you can use this as a way to have students drag and drop them, and they could do this all collaboratively. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Unlike Flippity, which we did before, which is only one student at a time, this would be a more collaborative experience that you could create with your students. Only requires a Google account. So again, certain people in the world might have issues accessing that, and that's okay. I'm going to give you an alternative for our people who are not able to use Google. An alternative, which is one that we're using a lot at NYU these days for doing large distributed brainstorming, is this page here called Miro. So Miro, like the Spanish artist, this one right here, again, there's a link. Actually, maybe don't click on that link. That's not the, I don't think that's the link that, oh, maybe it is. Josen, that is the link. Miro lets you do the same thing. You can actually watch as people move their cursor around. So I can see where Joe is on the screen. I can create sticky notes. I can also focus everyone's attention in the class, so I can actually use this as a classroom management tool and tell everybody, no, you need to look at this part of the board, not at this part of the board. So it's like Jamboard, but on steroids, and it works without a Google account, which is kind of a nice little tool. So if you want to do this sort of collaborative mind mapping brainstorming, Jamboard or Miro would be two cool tools for making that happen. Okay. Any questions? Like I said, fire hose, it's still on. I have a couple more tools I do want to cover with you. Let's kind of switch gears and slow down. How many of you have had the experience of trying to schedule a meeting with your colleagues or your friends, and you have this experience of 5 people on an email chain, and you say, how does Tuesday at 4 sound? I can't do Tuesday at 4. I could do Wednesday at 6. I could do Tuesday at 4, but I can't do Wednesday at 6. And it's a management hassle to figure that out. So I want to show you some tech tools for making your life easier productivity-wise. So one tool that we've been using a lot this last year is called When to Meet. So When to Meet is a great tool because all you have to do is you set up some time blocks that work, and you just go through and you drag on the When to Meet board when you are able to meet. You then send the link to other people. They drag on the board when they are able to meet during that time, and it will go ahead and darken in the board and show you exactly the time on the calendar that works for the most people. So it's an easier way than going back and forth through email. You can use a tool like this to kind of collaboratively, without any sign-ins or anything like that, figure out a convenient time for a large group of people to meet. So this is more of an administrative tool than a tool you would use with students, but it's one that I've used a lot. I've actually used it a lot for project meetings with my undergrad students when they want to set up a meeting with all the students and we need to do like some project critiques. We would use When to Meet to make that work. Okay. Another thing that teachers, these are utilities now, that we often have to do as teachers is, have you ever had a presentation that you're working on? Like this is Mallorca right here, right? So this is Formentor, and I put Pikachu inside this presentation. And this Pikachu, while we know it's a cartoon, looks like it could kind of be in this space, right? This Pikachu right here has the big white background behind it. And that immediately tells me that I didn't take the time to cut the little Pikachu out and make it look more professional against the background. So this is like my #1 pet peeve when teachers are creating slides and they're creating these collages, not cutting out your backgrounds or not using transparent backgrounds. So I'm going to show you a couple tools that you can use to make your presentations look a little better too. If you are a mobile user, there is, so I have my iPad over here. Let's see if I've got it going on. I should be able to project it. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see my iPad there?
Yes.
This is my iPad, right? Like I've just got my iPad displaying on my computer. So I've got this app right here called Scan Thing. So this is my little desk right here. And you'll notice, oh, there's a can of soda, right? That I finished during this session. I would like to put this soda into my presentation. all I do is I snap a photo using Scan Thing. And as soon as I do that, it automatically cuts out the soda and removes the background from it completely. So now I can put that right into my presentation. So if you ever have a real world object, Keith, you're working with students and you have objects and you want to name them vocabulary wise, you can take pictures of them. This will automatically clean them up for you. You can put them right in your presentation and they'll look beautiful on the background. So if you're a mobile user, this is a great way to remove a background. If you are on a computer and you want to remove the background from something, one of my favorite tools for doing it is PowerPoint as well. So if you have PowerPoint on your computer, you can see here's the Pikachu, here's the background. In PowerPoint, all you have to do is you find the image that you want to remove the background from, and you go up to the top and you go to Picture Format, and you go to Remove Background. And it will automatically try using some basic machine learning, figure out where the background is. You can then go up here and say, oh, you know what? I need the back of Pikachu's little tail, so I want to keep that. And I need some of Pikachu's leg. You don't have to be very exact. It'll figure it out based on just some hints. And I need Pikachu's eyes. And then when I'm completely done, I just hit Keep Changes, and it'll remove the background from the image. And now it looks clean and pretty. So if you have, and Microsoft Office works everywhere. So if you have PowerPoint on your machine, use the Remove Background tool. You can then take this thing and simply save it as a picture, and you could put it on your website or whatever, wherever you need it, or Google Drive or whatever. But cutting out the background is something that I, again, is a pet peeve when I see teachers just use the plain white or solid backgrounds. So this could be a tool that might be useful for you. Okay. Let's see. What else? What else? Again, am I going too fast? Is there something you guys want to talk about? I have some real weird stuff coming up. So,
Craig, what was the tool before the PowerPoint that you showed for removing the background?
Yeah, so that tool, Keith, that you would get on your phone. So you would download that on your phone or your iPad. That tool right here, it's under Utilities. It's called Scan Thing. And if you click on that, it'll take you to the App Store. It's a free app. You can get the paid version to do all sorts of fancy stuff, but it's a free app and you can just use that to scan things in your local environment and cut the background out right away.
Okay, thank you. Because it was two normal words, I thought you were just talking. It wasn't a word like food or something, so.
No, it's not like flippity dippity or something.
Yeah, so I didn't catch it.
Yeah, Scan Thing. Yeah, and there's a link in the resources.
Cool, thank you. Okay.
Let's talk about some kind of pie in the sky crazy stuff next. Let's talk about well, I'll bring my iPad back up here. So here's my iPad. I want to do a search. So I'm searching, and I searched for dogs before, right? So so I search for these dogs, and they're cute. And then, I can learn more about dogs. And then down here it says, oh, meet a life-sized Labrador Retriever. Really? Okay, let's meet a life-sized Labrador Retriever. If I go over here and I click View in my space, what Google actually has, and this is just a demonstration of this technology, Google has something called technology called augmented reality. So now that little, let me try them again. View in 3D, view in my space. What Google's looking for is it's looking for a flat surface. And when it finds that flat surface, it places the dog there. And now that dog is just kind of hanging out on my desk. And you can see he's just kind of doing his thing, and he's superimposed on top of it. So this is called augmented reality. So augmented reality is the superimposition of digital content on top of a physical environment. And it's not necessarily an educational tool, but it's a really interesting hook for students to be able to create these experiences that kind of live in the real world, but also in the virtual world at the same time. And there's a lot of really cool tools that you could use to create these sorts of experiences for your students, or allow your students to experience them. So one of my favorite tools, and Joe and I have talked about this with early learners, is this one here. This is an interactive fiction app that you can download on your computer, or you can download to your iPad, and it's called Wonderscope. So I'm just going to play the beginning of it real quick. What Wonderscope is you have your iPad, and there are stories that kids can participate in. As soon as they start, I'll kind of lower the audio so I can talk over it. The story becomes part of the room around the child. So you can see here, as the child's using the iPad, the story appears on her bed. The story isn't actually there. She's only seeing it through this magical lens of the iPad. So the story becomes part of the space. The cool thing about this application is that it's a completely interactive experience. The children or the learners have to drive the story by reading. So at certain points in the story, there are prompts that come up, and the story won't advance unless the child reads the words that are there, and it actually highlights the words as they go using speech recognition. So right here, if I go back, let me make the audio a little higher so you can see what's happening here as the kids read.
Is that a good idea at your age?
Age ain't nothing but a number. Here we go. Time to blow away some wrinkles.
That's wild.
So it's kind of Harry Potter-ish, right? It just creates this magical world around you, and the kids have to use their reading skills to move through the space. There's some free stories that you can download, and if you're in an iPad school, this might be a fun thing to use with your students. There are also tools, and again, we're 5 minutes left, so we're running out of time. There are also tools you can use to create these experiences yourself. Two of the tools that I have on our resource guide for today to make these experiences yourself are Adobe Aero and ZapWorks. And I have a little tutorial for both of these if you want to create your own little interactive Harry Potter style stories for your students. These would be some fun tools to play around. Okay, last crazy one, and then then we're done. And because we're only going to an hour and a half, Zoom fatigue will set in. The last crazy one I want to talk about is just kind of a pet project of mine, but there's some cool tools with it. Give me a quick kind of assessment here. What do you think these 6 people have in common?
Human.
They are human. That is true. Yeah.
Smiling.
They're mostly smiling.
Mostly, kind of,
yeah. Mostly, yeah. Right? They're different ethnicities, different genders, different ages, right? There's a lot of differences here. Human, maybe they're human, maybe they're not. Well, they are not humans that were born. They are actually created by an artificial intelligence. So there is a website you can go to called This Person Does Not Exist, and every time you reload it, an adversarial generative algorithm creates faces of humans that never existed using all of the images that we have uploaded to the internet, Facebook images, Google images. It trained itself on that and can create very lifelike looking humans based off of the data that we have given this AI. So every time you reload this, you can get a random human. Kind of an interesting thing if you need stock footage and you don't want to use a random person. But this is kind of a creepy website to talk to your students about the future of technology. There's also one which is a little more lighthearted. This cat does not exist. And these cats are developed in the same way, where you can see these cute little cats that were created. Now, sometimes it gets it very, very wrong. Like there's some cats in here, like this one, this is a scary, like crazy cat, right? That should never exist in nature. But most of them look pretty okay. So we don't have any time to talk about AI and how it actually works, but some cool AI tools that you can use with your students right now are kind of fun. This one right here, this one's called the Deep Dream Generator. This one lets you upload 2 photos and an artificial intelligence will combine those photos in a new and a creative way. So you can go ahead and create custom artwork. So here's like a rabbit that's kind of in a line drawing format and like a puma, and it creates this kind of psychedelic puma thing. Or here's a mushroom and kind of a winter scene, and it puts it together. So the AI can kind of put those 2 things together. So if you're just looking to create some interesting artwork or visuals for your students, this could be a fun one. Another really fun one for doing AI is for artificial intelligence assisted drawing. Let's say we want to create a little scene for our students. Let's say I want to have a little house and a little dog. Well, I'm not a very good freehand artist, especially with a mouse. But if I go over here and I draw a little house like that, that's a terrible house. The AI figures out what I'm trying to draw. And if I click on one of these things up here, it'll auto-correct what I'm writing and turn it into something that actually looks right. If I want to draw a little like dog here, like I'm going to do like ears and like a nose, like that's a terrible dog, right? But if I keep drawing this thing, I might find that it thinks, oh yeah, that's a dog for you. So it'll autocorrect it. So this right here called auto draw uses artificial intelligence to understand your scribbles and turn them into something visual. You can then use this as part of a PowerPoint presentation or make it easy for kids to be able to create fun little visuals in class. Another really interesting one, and again, we're out of time. This is one that I would recommend if you have a mobile device, download it today and go outside. This one here is called Seek. What Seek does is it allows you to use your phone to highlight any organism in your local environment. Works great with plants and small animals. So if I go outside and I see, oh, look at that bush, I can use Seek. It'll go ahead and recognize the leaf on that, and using artificial intelligence, it'll diagnose for me the species. It allows me to go out and actually diagnose down from the genre, the phylum, all the way down to the species. Great for a biology class, also great for nature walks, and just learning about the organisms in your own backyard. So Seek is a completely free artificial intelligence app for diagnosing the organisms in your local environment. All right, that's it. I think we did about 30 tools in an hour and a half. Are there any questions or anything that we can answer for you?
Sorry, I came a little late. Did you share the link to the reference?
Yeah, I did at the beginning, but I'll send it out now. So thank you for mentioning that, because people might not have gotten it at the beginning. Yeah, everything we covered today. Yeah, I mean, just grabbing it over here on the screen. Everything we covered today is covered in this Google Doc. Oh, there you go. That's the document. That is our authoritative link of everything we've covered. If anybody is interested in more, I'm teaching a class, co-teaching a class next session, Advanced Trends, and I'm doing an intensive tech deep dive on technology tools to use in the classroom. So my whole half of the class is going to focus on using these tools effectively and interestingly in the classroom. Okay. Anything else?
It's just I mean, I feel great. These are amazing tools. Like, I know a couple of them, but not this. This is so rich, and I just need some practice. But I just highlighted the ones that I'm like initially interested in, and I'm gonna start with them. And it's amazing that what we can create and teach and involve the kids. It's just I feel good. It's just I need some time, but
you need some time. Absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you very much. This is amazing.
You're very welcome. Yeah, so my big takeaway is just please don't use all these things at once. Pick one. Like this was no teacher in their right mind would go through all of those things. I'm just trying to introduce you to kind of the smorgasbord of what's out there. If something sparked your interest, that's the one you should move ahead.
Yeah, that's why I took some notes, like the ones that I can start with. That looks like these are the ones that the first ones that I won't struggle. I can easily use them. So eventually I can just try a little bit more. But I have like a little bit idea how to begin, where to begin. So, and I have presentations. I feel great. I don't know. It's just like all the ideas are popping in my head. I hope I can use them. At least like one or two of them. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else we can do for you this morning? Linda, Jason, Keith.
I'm good. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much, really.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, you know what, Joe and I will stick around for a few minutes if people have any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording. I hope you all have the great rest of your day. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Craig, is that Google Doc that you guys set up, is that downloadable?